goes live in 2 minutes. Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello there. Good morning. Happy Monday to you. It'd be June 3rd. Tomorrow, on this date in history, let's see, how long will it have been? I was married on a June 4th. Let's see. If I hadn't screwed up, if we hadn't screwed up, I'd now be married, let's see, 72, 35, 25, 20, oh my God, 28, 13, oh my God! Excuse me. I would be celebrating my 41st wedding anniversary tomorrow. Wow. Ah, God! Oy, 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 oy. But I'm not. I am not. So how are you all doing? Why did I expect sun today? It's sort of, I like the cool temps. All right, so here's a question I have, apropos of, well, recent news events. Why would you live in Oklahoma? That's my question. If you were one of these people who, and there are many of them, who have seen their homes destroyed more than once, or who have lived through the terror of these unbelievable forces of nature that seem to love Oklahoma, why would you not pick up stakes and move? I mean, as I look at Oklahoma, it doesn't look like it's a particularly beautiful state. Does it? It's just flat. There's nothing particular, like you can't move because of that glorious mountain range outside your window, or you can't move because of the, the ocean there, or the beautiful river. I mean, what is there? Except, I don't know, death and destruction. And Tea Partiers, get the hell out of there. I don't understand it. Jeez. All right, just my question. So, yesterday I was reading and I came across a poem, And this is by Billy Collins. And I believe Billy Collins was the poet laureate for a while, wasn't he? Jess, you're supposed to know stuff like that. You're an English major.
I don't really like poetry.
You don't like poetry? All right. Well, I know poetry is a little, poetry sort of like art. You know, you go into an art gallery and you get uptight, right? Poetry makes you uptight. You think, oh, I don't know if I'm getting this, or I'm not sure. But somehow I read this to myself and I thought, wow. So I got this idea to read it out loud for the first time in an effort to get your opinion. And since I haven't practiced this, I don't know if this is going to work. But will you hang with me on this particular poem, which I may not read well because, as I said, I only read it once to myself and was taken by it. Okay, hang in there. It has the strange title of Pineapple. Okay, here goes. Pineapple by Billy Collins. The idea was to draw a pineapple on a table, but I began with the telephone poles and the wires sagging between them in the background. For I had made the mistake of placing the pineapple on a picnic table outdoors instead of a cloth-covered table by a window. And that is also why I was drawn to the low mountains in the distance and the higher ones beyond them. What still life would be complete without a sun, with shine lines in the sky? I asked. But no one answered. And so I continued with the magnificent clouds shaded on their undersides and even a few isolated seagulls in flight. Here and there, in the expanding world of my sketch pad, my pencil running wild into the non-existent blue. Poor pineapple, I realize now. Overlooked symbol of hospitality, universal fruit of welcome by the door. Lost now in the scope of a bigger world. Forgive my adolescent pencil for bypassing the perfect fact of you. In its eagerness to explore the world and for not seeing the world that you are. The plated armadillo of your surface and your pale, succulent interior, waiting on a rough table in a hut for the swift, unstoppable downswing of the blade. Don't you think that's amazing? No, Jess is totally unmoved. You weren't even listening.
I was.
You were not.
I was.
You were not. God, he got me so into this pineapple after he pulled back from the mountains and the wires and the telephone poles and the world beyond, and then he went back to the pineapple, but then he ends it with that violent, horrible thing of, unstoppable downswing of the blade on its armadillo surface. I just thought that was woo. Isn't that wonderful? Oh, well. It was something I wanted to do. I thought, you got to read that for people and see. But I mean, it's not like we do poetry much, but... Okay, here's something we do. Obits. I love obits. Now, I found this one in the, I think, New York Times on Saturday. I believe I saw it reprinted in part in today's Post-Gazette. I love this one. Okay. This is a guy named Dean Brooks. Dr. Dean Brooks. I know. You don't know him. I didn't know him. Never heard of him. However, he was in a movie that you probably loved. He was in a movie that won a ton of Academy Awards, even though he was a psychiatrist. Now, why would this shrink be in a movie? Well, I'll tell you why. This is the 70s, he was a superintendent of a psychiatric hospital in the state of Oregon when a filmmaker came calling and said, I'd like to make a movie set in a psychiatric hospital, and I'm wondering, could we film here? And Dr. Brooks thought, yeah, let's do that. And what he didn't know is that the director who approached him had earlier approached umpteen numbers of superintendents of psychiatric hospitals, all of whom said, are you kidding me? You want to make a movie here? No way. No way. You're not disrupting this place. These people have enough problems. We can't do that. Forget about it, blah, blah, blah. But Dr. Dean Brooks said, I think that would be interesting. Now, he was different than most psychiatrists who run psychiatric hospitals, even before he accepted that offer of having a movie done in his hospital. He had been considered a bit of an innovator, a bit of an oddball. He was one of the first to allow patients who were in his psychiatric hospital to wear their own clothes, as opposed to what other hospitals did at the time, which was to put all patients in a certain kind of a hospital uniform, garb, sort of like you do to prisoners. He didn't want that. He let them wear their own clothes. He also liked to get them outdoors a lot and go on trips into the wilderness to see the joys of nature. So he was an open and looser and more innovative kind of psychiatrist. So it comes to do the movie, and he says to the director, a guy named Milos Forman, he said, I really think, he said, before you start shooting and doing this thing, I think you should spend some time here, live here. And so Forman and the screenwriter, a guy named Lawrence Haubin, for weeks did live in the psychiatric hospital, which is obviously a very good idea. And in the course of living in the hospital and seeing Dr. Brooks interact with his patients, the director, Forman, realized that the doctor, Dr. Brooks, would be perfect to play the doctor in his movie. Even though he had no acting experience. And so Dr. Brooks also said, oh, sure, I'll do that. And when he was shown the part and he read his part, he said, there's no way. I find what this doctor is saying unbearably stilted. I wouldn't talk that way. And Forman said, okay, how about this? I'll let you ad-lib your scenes. You just be you. You ad-lib your scenes. And the more famous scene that he did was the scene in which he does the intake interview with a new patient, played by Jack Nicholson. And so this shrink, who with no acting experience, sits down and does an improv with Jack Nicholson. And you know what? He did it so well. On the second take, Foreman said, cut. That's it. We got it. And Dr. Brooks helped shape One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in other ways, because after seeing the script, he said, you know, a lot of what you're showing here is psychiatric practice is not being done anymore. So you guys really, you need to drop this back into this, you know, early 60s instead of having it set in the 70s. And they agreed. So, okay, it's early 60s. And also he insisted that there be a disclaimer at the end of the film that this hospital is not indicative of what a modern psychiatric hospital, and no nurse rads around. Now, of course, the stuffier members of his fraternity of psychiatrists was offended, appalled, off-put, and simply stunned that Dr. Brooks would tarnish the profession in this way, and he was on the receiving end of a lot of criticism by colleagues for allowing a film to be made in a hospital setting in which there were very disturbed people. But our Dr. Brooks, being no fool, realized that for his patients, the making of a movie in the hospital was a potentially wondrous thing. And he negotiated with Foreman and the other people in charge to get jobs for 89 of the patients in his hospital. 89 patients had work as a result and were involved in the making of what turned out to be a great movie. They assisted the crew, they acted as extras, whatever. And for them, he said, this was such a huge thing, an empowering thing. And he said one patient, in fact, who had been debilitated by a stutter his entire life, stopped stuttering during the making of the movie. So, Dr. Dean Brooks, superintendent of Oregon State Hospital in Salem, Oregon from 1955 to 1981. Great guy, obviously. Great guy, loose, wonderful guy, thinking outside the box all of the time. And he played Dr. Spivey, the psychiatrist who was described as a kind, well-meaning, but weak-willed psychiatrist who directs the mental hospital in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So Dean Brooks, who acted with Jack Nicholson in an ad-lib sequence in a role which Nicholson won an Academy Award for. Dean Brooks dead at 96 years of age. So, I loved that one. Okay. Here's an odd little thing. Let me just catch up. Ray's written me about Billy Collins. Sorry, got baseball on my mind these days. Okay. Oh, he sent me another poem that is titled Another Reason Why I Don't Keep a Gun in the House by Billy Collins. I will share it with you sight unseen. The neighbor's dog will not stop barking. He is barking the same high, rhythmic bark that he barks every time they leave the house. They must switch him on their way out. The neighbor's dog will not stop barking. I close all the windows in the house and put on a Beethoven symphony full blast, but I can still hear him muffled under the music. Barking, barking, barking! And now I see him sitting in the orchestra, his head raised confidently, as if Beethoven had included a part for barking dog. When the record finally ends, he is still barking, sitting there in the oboe section, barking, his eyes fixed on the conductor who is entreating him with his baton, while the other musicians listen in respectful silence to the famous barking dog solo, that endless coda that first established Beethoven as an innovative genius. Billy Collins, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Another reason why I don't keep a gun in the house. Thank you, Raymond. I like Billy Collins. I think we'll get a break in here and come back. If there's any topics, by the way, subjects of interest that you would like to talk about, let me know. You can do it by email, lynn@pghcitypaper.com, or you can give me a call, 412-316-3331. Okay? In a minute.
Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com or call Lynn at 412-316-3381. Lynn Cullen Live will return in a moment.
Do you know that haunting Beethoven masterpiece that so inflames the passions as to be, well, dangerous to those who hear it, and dare I say, deadly to those who play it? I'm Martin Giles, starring in Pick's next play, The Kreutzer Sonata, by Nancy Harris, based on Tolstoy's scandalous novella. Join me for a thrilling train ride at the Henry Hayman Theatre in Oakland from May 30th through June 22nd. Visit picktheatre.org for tickets and information.
This week's Pittsburgh City Paper is available now. Pick up one today for an interview with Bill Peduto, plus Weird Al Yankovic, Pitbull, Kesha, Kendrick Lamar, and Brad Paisley. Pittsburgh City Paper available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com and on your smartphone with GPS-enabled listings at citypapermobile.com.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
Was that funny that a Beethoven spot came up?
Yeah.
Was that? I wanted to put my mic on and go roof, roof. But that's a paid spot. We can't screw with them. No way. So I've been seeing more and more indications that researchers, these pointy-headed academics with too much time on their hand, are realizing that tweets, the little 140-character things that are sent out on Twitter, are, I guess, a wondrous mother lode of potential fodder for study. That if you look, and I guess the way Twitter works is you can literally see where every tweet, I mean, they map them, don't they? You can look at a map and see how many tweets are coming out of what parts of the world on what subjects. And I remember once for something I had done or said was trending at one point locally, but you could go to a map and you could see that there was a tweet about it in South America. And then there was it's weird. So because it's, the stuff with internet is, everything becomes amazingly traceable with lots of information attached to it beyond what is apparent to the eye. I mean, it's where it came from geographically, what time, who sent, blah, blah, blah. So I see more and more that this university did a study using tweets as an indicator of this or that, or trying to gauge in what areas of the country there are more racists. There was a map just this weekend that I saw about an effort using tweets to determine where the racists were in the country. And they did it by simply, pulling every tweet that had, a bad word in it for another person. They would pull those, and then they, compiled them to see where they were. And what's interesting is the hotbeds of racism that I remember from this map that was put out. Even though there were quite a bit in the Deep South, Georgia, Alabama, the preponderance were in the Midwest and the Rust Belt. Folks, that would be us. And that is where more N-word, more all this kind of more, stuff about gays, all this seemed to be coming from. It was all over the place, but where you expect like a solid thing in the South? No, the South looked like a lot of other places, and most of them were Midwest Rust Belt. Just saying. So another group decided, and this was at the University of Vermont, and they make up some kind of an algorithm with the 10,000 most, commonly occurring online words that suggest racism, or in the Vermont case, suggests happiness. So the University of Vermont researchers wanted to see from tweets what cities seem to be happy and what cities seem to be sad. And so they had the kinds of words that sad people would have in tweets and happy tweets. And you can, I'm sure, argue about how they decided on that. But they did come up with a geography of happiness by tweets. And I only bring it, we're not on this list. If Pittsburgh is on it, this article that I have did not say. In larger cities in America, Los Angeles was happier than New York. Chicago came in sort of average. Philly was sad. Washington, D.C. was sad. Houston was sad. Okay, so here are the happiest cities according to... What's weird is how they're all in the same place. Now, this says something about geography. In fact, having a lot to do with, a lot of the happy places are places that people go to retire or go because there's beaches, Happiest, Napa, California. Jess is saying, yeah, well, yeah, why not? What are they doing there? Drinking wine, smoking pot? What are they doing? Nothing, right? Napa, California is so out and out the happiest. And then there's a ton of California cities in the top 15. A ton. Napa, San Clemente, Santa Cruz, Santa Rosa, Simi Valley, Santa Barbara, San Jose. They all make like the top 15. Also, a lot of Colorado cities. Rocky Mountain High, Colorado. Okay, Longmont, Colorado, coming in at number 2. Lafayette, Colorado. Boulder, Colorado. Fort Collins, Colorado. All right, so the only other ones that are not Colorado or California, you can count on pretty much 3 or 4 fingers. Asheville, North Carolina squeaks in. Spokane, Washington squeaks in under the happy title. and Santa Fe, New Mexico. And then there is one outlier, because every other city I have given you is California, Colorado, or like Santa Fe. Come on. Those aren't real cities. Those aren't like real cities. You will note there's not any city in the northern tier, right? Are there? Oh, Spokane, Washington would be considered. That's as far north as you go. But that's it. Except I'm not telling you the city that came in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th. Because this is the outlier. This is the one that doesn't fit. And I am only saying it because I have a connection to this city. In the happy city category, coming in at number 6, after Napa, California, and Longmont, Colorado, and San Clemente, California, and Santa Fe, New Mexico, and Santa Cruz, California, is the frozen effing tundra of Green Bay, Wisconsin! My hometown. Yes, where we wake up grinning ear to ear. And we smell that dairy air. That's right. Okay, you do know that that's a big bumper sticker in Wisconsin. Come smell our dairy air. All right. Another one. While I was a reporter there covering state government, there was an effort to change our less than snappy motto that's on the license plates, America's Dairyland. There was an effort to change that. And the governor at the time had suggested a brilliant idea, which was turned down. And here it was. Eat cheese or die.
That's amazing.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
The governor. I got it. He said, eat cheese or die. Well, so I told my brother about Green Bay making it strangely into this list of happy places. And he came up with the right word. He said, I'm not surprised. He said, I've always said the people there are just amiable. Now, I know I have said when people talk about Pittsburghers as being the most wonderful people in the world and the helpfulest, and I've said that is such crapola. Of course there's wonderful people here, and there's wonderful people everywhere. It's just, that's nonsense. I hate that stuff. But there is something. Amiable is the word. There's just a laid-back, salt-of-the-earth, unpretentious, working-class amiability going on there, which I get people are happy. Those of us who weren't got out. We came here with our depression. Excuse me? Tom Sokolowski writing in, and I thought our shows were nutty.
That's rude.
What does that mean? Are you suggesting that today's program is strange? He says, first there was your denunciation of the Okie state, and then the maudlin, terrible poetry of Billy Collins. Next, you'll take on the beauty of moo-moos and the gastronomic wonder of Haluski. For Christ's sake, lighten up. You misspelled beauty, and I don't think you spelled moo-moo right either. Moo-moos have a certain beauty, by the way, Tom. When you don't want anything constricting you and yet want to be clothed, to be considered clothed, to be able to put on some flowing garment that does not in any way intrude on your flesh is, I guess, a delight you'll never know. Here's the topic that Tom Sokolowski suggests: government whistleblowers. Okay, so you want to hear the saddest cities in the country, according to tweets?
Mm-hmm.
Saddest city, Beaumont, Texas. Followed by Albany, Georgia. Texas City, Texas. Shreveport, Louisiana. Monroe, Louisiana. Memphis, Tennessee. Are you noticing something here? Okay, so the top 6 are all in the South. Then we head north to Battle Creek, Michigan. And then Flint, Michigan. That is a depressed town in every way. And then Lima. Is it Lima, Ohio, or Lima? Lima, Ohio. I think they pronounce it Lima, yeah?
Like the B.
Yeah, so those are all like Rust Belt, blah, blah, blah. Then some place called Huma, Louisiana. Then Waterbury, Connecticut, how that got in. Then Alexandria, Louisiana. Then Port Arthur, Texas. Montgomery, Alabama. Dothan, Alabama. Overrepresented are Alabama, Louisiana, and Texas in the saddest tweet cities. Okay. I'd just like to know who made Tom Sokolowski a poetry critic all of a sudden. Okay, government whistleblowers. I will say something about that. In regard to the government going after some of these reporters, let's go after like the Rosen from Fox, whose story was about something that North Korea was about to do. It was like North Korea was going to launch another missile test or something. Now, the person who leaked that information to the reporter, is that a whistleblower? Because whistleblowers, you want whistleblowers to have protection. Whistleblowers, by definition, are people who are alerting us to something that our government is up to, that the government wants kept quiet for understandable reasons, because either it is illegal or the people would not approve, or it's an outrage, or whatever. But government or they're paying too much for something, or government whistleblowers must be protected. But the person who leaked the information to Rosen that North Korea was going to launch another missile, what was whistleblowing about that? I'm asking. Why did you need to know that information? And why did I need to know it? What did it have? Was he giving this information to Rosen because the American people should know? Because I'm confused about that. Why do we have to know if North Korea is going to launch a missile? They'll launch a missile and we'll read it in the paper. They launched a missile. So that's not a government whistleblower. That's a leaker. Who, if you are willing to believe the government at all, that is a leaker who, the minute that report got published, informed the North Korean government that we had a mole, or they had a whistleblower. If it wasn't, that's the North Korea guy, whoever leaked it, that's a whistleblower. Probably dead now. That's a whistleblower. All that the leaker here did was potentially get someone killed in North Korea who had leaked that information to, for whatever reason, our government, saying they're going to do it again. This one-size-fits-all, everybody who leaks something is a friggin' hero? Bull! Bull. Some are close to traitorous. Some should be gotten after. Whoever did that leak, there was no somebody give me reason why the guy who leaked that North Korea was going to put off another missile and this Fox News guy got it and ran with it. How is that a whistleblower? It's information, yes. But it potentially harmed the life of whoever did, in fact, release that information. And you could argue may have thus hurt our national security. If somebody is leaking stuff there's no reason we, the people, have to know at that moment, but that could do that kind of damage, then that's criminal or traitorous. And I want the government to go after that SOB. That's not a whistleblower. Okay. Back to my mail. Laura, God bless you, dear. Listen to this, Tom Sokolowski. Laura writes, was Tom talking about Moo Moo, M-U-U, M-U-U, or Moo Moo, as in America's Dairyland? He was talking about those big, voluminous caftan-like things, which I think are spelled. How is that spelled? M-U-U, M-U-U. My son is always saying, when I'm trying to lose weight, but Mom, why don't you just let yourself go? Because then you can wear moo-moos all day. Is it M-U-U, M-U-U?
Yeah.
It is.
One word.
And one word. And Laura goes on to say, moo-moos or moo-moos both can be beautiful depending on whose eyes are looking. I am still so enjoying the show. Love your scarf today. Thank you.
Ooh, it's very French.
Isn't it pretty? Mm-hmm. It is. I just bought this in Wisconsin. Yes, I did. Love your scarf. Glad you're feeling better. Thank you, Laura. I am feeling better. Okay, Chuck writes this about happiest, saddest cities. Sorry to paint with a broad brush here, but I would say that most of the happiest cities that you listed are in largely liberal states, and the saddest are mostly in conservative states. You're right. Most of the happiest were in Colorado and California, and the saddest were Texas, Louisiana. You're right. They're sad, they're mean, and they're racist. I don't know. What are we going to do? I got a call? Hello?
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 They're all sad because they're afraid they're going to go to hell.
Is that what it is?
Well, that would, if you believe that, that would scare the shit out of you, wouldn't it?
No, I don't think it does. I don't think they believe it. I think they believe everybody else is going to hell.
See, I've always, this isn't what I called about, but I always thought religion and faith, people who believe in that stuff, it's because they're fearful. Not because they're hopeful, it's because they're fearful. What greater blackmail is there than saying, you have to follow our orthodoxy, our doctrine, or you're going to hell?
I agree. But, that brings me to one of the most incredible things somebody ever said to me. It was a mother of a friend, and maybe in the last 15 years, and she was visiting her daughter, and we were all having dinner together, and her mother, finding out I was a Jew, said to me this, what I've never understood about Jews and your religion is what's the payoff? And I said, what? What? And she said, well, in Christianity, the payoff is heaven.
Exactly.
And I've never heard of Jews talking about heaven or hell. And I'm just wondering, why would you have a religion that doesn't have a payoff?
Well, my understanding about Judaism is everybody is saved in the end.
She said, you don't believe in heaven, do you? And I said, you know what? I don't know. And I had to go look. Do Jews believe in heaven? Because it is not a thing Jews talk about. It's not a big deal. It's not why you would lead a good life.
Yeah.
But apparently Jews do believe in some kind of a, resurrection.
Well,
and all that, but it's just not the focus of any of it.
That's right. That's what I've always said. What is more righteous? Doing the right thing because
it's
of
the
either
right thing.
Promise of reward or threat of punishment, or doing the right thing simply because it's the right thing to do.
That's right.
You know?
But I think, too, and I remember having a conversation once with Ruth Ann Baker about this. And she really believes in, she believed in original sin. In other words, that a child is born a sinner.
Infested with mortal sin. That's why you have to baptize them.
I find that idea so abhorrent.
Well, whenever somebody says abortion is killing a little baby, God loves little innocent babies, tell them, no, they're not innocent. They're infested with mortal sin. That's why you got to wash them off before God will accept them.
Well,
so that whole idea.
But then, I remember, Ruth Ann, when it's the whole idea that you have to have a heaven and a hell is because we are born such sinners that the only way people will behave is through threat of punishment or the possibility of reward. And I find that view of humanity so unbelievably loathsome. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
I find it loathsome.
That's how we train our dogs and our children, with punishments and reward. That's how you get them to do what you want. And if you're going to start a religion, you may as well throw those in, because otherwise, why is anybody going to join your religion?
That's right.
So,
and that's why no one's knocking on Jews' doors to convert. It's to, what's the point? Because there is no payoff. That's right.
I forgot what I called you about now. Oh, no, I do know. You were talking about he's not a whistleblower, the guy who leaked about the Koreans.
Yeah.
Also, that Bradley Manning trial is starting today.
Yeah.
And with all due respect to Daniel Ellsberg, I hope this Bradley Manning burns in hell.
Yeah, I don't think again, I think that was just an information dump that took that was not in any way concerned with the implications. And that is not whistleblowing. That is, it often can be, in fact, treasonous, which is what certainly the government seems to think.
Yep. I agree with that 100%. This kid had absolutely no idea what he was grabbing. He just grabbed 500,000 documents, whatever they were. He didn't care. It's not like he saw something that he found morally reprehensible that needed to be corrected.
He had
the opportunity to grab a bunch of crap and send it off to this weirdo Assange guy who is another.
Oh, total case.
Work.
So I think Manning wanted to harm the us because he was angry.
Good. Well, then he can
he did not do it.
Little jail cell for the rest of his life.
Yeah, well,
that's how angry he is.
Yeah, but so everybody gets on their high horse, as if there's no way that the government could conceivably be right here, and that anybody who leaks information is some kind of a courageous hero. Come on, guys. Can we use? Can we think a little bit?
I was in the Navy 35 years ago, and I had a top-secret security clearance. And I don't know if anything that I knew back then is the least bit relevant today. It's 35 years later, 30-some years later. But I still don't talk about it. I mean, I probably could. It's kind of boring and stupid anyhow. But I had all this. I had a security clearance. I've got classified information in my head. I promised when I signed up I would never tell anybody. So, I still hold myself to that. And here's this little Manning kid who just thinks he's going to be some sort of, I don't know what the hell is. I don't know what he was thinking. But like I said, I hope he burns in hell. give him a lot of time to think about what a wonderful job he did.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Lynn.
All righty.
Let's go, Pens.
Yeah. Let's go, Pens. Wake up, Pens.
Yeah.
Okay. And Tom has written back a retort. As a great aunt of mine once opined, everyone to his own taste, said the man who kissed the cow. And Tom wants to know if the great folks of Green Bay still kiss cows. I have never seen anyone kiss a cow. I've seen people kiss horses, and dogs and cats. I've never seen anybody kiss a cow. Somebody go kiss a poor cow. I'm serious. They're not the brightest, but God bless him. Okay? Got to take a break.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
Go to bergbargains.com for great deals on gift cards from your favorite local restaurants, bars, museums, attractions, and shows. This week, great deals on Go 8 vouchers, Sauce and Saga. Supplies are limited. Bergbargains.com, Pittsburgh's best bargains. Bergbargains.com.
For the millions living with COPD, breathing becomes a real struggle. COPD stands for chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, but you may have heard of it as chronic bronchitis or emphysema. Over time, it makes it harder and harder to breathe until you feel like you're breathing through a straw. COPD is the 4th leading cause of death in the U.S. It kills 1 person every 4 minutes, and it took my grandmother. An estimated 24 million Americans are affected, but as many as half of them don't even know it. It's a race against time to spread the word about this serious disease. If you're over 35 and have ever smoked, you could be at risk. The good news is, there are steps you can take to improve your symptoms. I'm Danica Patrick, and I drive for COPD. Take action today to breathe better tomorrow. Join the movement at driveforcopd.com, take our screening questionnaire today, and talk to your doctor.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn at pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
Yeah, hey, did you see this group of congressional clowns who went over to Russia to poke around and see what they could find out about Tamerlan Tsarnaev? They were led by the inestimable Republican Representative Dana Rohrabacher, who I thought got knocked out of. I thought he was defeated in some race. Is he a lame duck? I don't know. Anyway, I hope he is. Idiot. So they went over there and found out that nothing. I mean, that's what they did. But the part that is interesting to me is their trip was facilitated in large part by a bad actor. Steven Seagal.
Oh my God.
Yes, there he is. There's a picture in the Wall Street Journal with Steven Seagal and Representative Dana Rohrabacher. And also on this congressional investigation was the clown of all clowns, Michelle Bachmann, also a lame duck. And Seagal says he facilitated it with the Russian security service since he's really tight with them. You know, what is going on? We got Dennis Rodman. Got Dennis Rodman trying to grease the skids to get something going with the dictator of North Korea. We got Steven Seagal, who's like really tight, apparently, with the president of Chechnya, who is also considered to be a bad, bad actor as well. A spokesman for the U.S. Embassy in Moscow declined to comment on the actor's role. I bet. I bet. It says here that Seagal is increasingly making inroads among the elite in Russia. Well, that tells you something about the elite in Russia, doesn't it? God, what a pathetic country. among the elite in Russia, where macho action movies are the stuff of public adoration. Seagal was actually granted a tete-a-tete with Vladimir Putin himself because both share the macho ideal and a love of martial arts. Ugh. God almighty. Okay. Did you see the Cheerio commercial with a little girl who says to her mom at the kitchen table, are Cheerios good for your heart? And her mother assures her, yes, they are. And the girl runs away with a box of Cheerios. And the next thing you see is the girl's sleeping father with a pile of Cheerios atop his heart. Isn't that sweet? So, yes. Now, see, Jess is going to start crying. So, look, is this good for your heart? Yeah, and maybe, so she goes and puts some Cheerios on her dad's heart. And the commercial ends with one word superimposed on the screen. Love. Okay, well, I think Dan Draper would say that's a good ad. That's a good spot. Mm-hmm. If you love your family, you'll feed them Cheerios. So it's a great spot, but it has caused a bit of an uproar. And do you know why? Well, I know it's 2013, but the mother in this spot is white. The child in this spot is suspiciously brown looking, and the father is black.
So what?
Jess says, so what? Well, spoken like some young person. The fact that it's an interracial family, says here in the New York Times, has generated vituperative comments online, but General Mills is saying it stands by the commercial. Well, yeah. Way to go, General! Of course you stand by the commercial. Jeez. And one of their spokespeople has said, there are many kinds of families, and Cheerios just wants to celebrate them all. Anyway, a lot of the comments have been overly racist on social media. I have not seen the ad. Sounds like a lovely ad. Good heavens. You know. Okay, so we've got about 6 minutes left, and I have one serious topic here that I really don't want to get into totally. It's so damn serious. But this looks to be a very interesting series, occasional series, that the New York Times has taken on, trying to explain what the F is going on with our healthcare system and why Americans pay more, and I mean more, for everything than anyone else in the world. We pay more for every procedure. We pay more to see a doctor. We pay more for every drug. What America spends on healthcare is so far and away off the charts compared to any other country that you would and we have to add this, and the outcome, you would think, if we're going to throw all that money at it, would make us the healthiest people in the universe. But we know we're not. We're not even in the top 10. So we have the most expensive healthcare system, and we do not have the best outcome. These are facts. They are known. And one would think that given that fact alone, that national pride would be enough to get to the bottom of it and fix it. But we're incapable of doing that because we have, a bunch of crazy people in our Congress who think any fix that does not allow essentially unfettered free market capitalism to prevail is communistic. So let's see what our free market capitalist model of healthcare does for us. We pay more for almost every interaction with a medical system. We are prescribed more procedures. In other words, we have more tests done on us and more expensive procedures than most people in other nations. And it doesn't matter if the other nations we're being compared to have a national health system, socialized, a national health system, or also have a fee-for-service private system. Even in those countries with private systems, we are paying through the nose. A survey of Global Network of Health Insurance found that the United States came out the most costly in all 21 categories of drugs, hospital stay. We come out as the costliest in every damn category. We pay on average about 4 times as much for a hip replacement, let's say, as somebody would in France or in Switzerland. 3 times as much for a C-section. There's all these. I'm looking at a thing with a lot of charts, and it's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. And again, as I say, if we were paying all this money and getting a quality that came with it, then okay. We spend about 18% of our gross domestic product on health care, again, which is nearly twice as much as other developed nations spend. And you stop and think, okay, if we weren't lining the pockets of the insurance companies, and pharmaceutical companies, and this whole corrupted healthcare system we have, imagine what we could do with that money. Like fix our public education system, fix our infrastructure. A major factor behind the high costs is that the United States, unique among industrialized nations, does not generally regulate or intervene in medical pricing, except for Medicare and Medicaid. We let the free market have its head. And other countries, even as I said, even if they have a private system, view public healthcare as essentially like in the same regard as they would a utility. It is so important and so necessary that it is assumed that there will be some government regulation of it and government negotiation of fees, both with providers and insurers nationwide. And that is one of the biggies. We let the so-called free market take over. Well, listen to this one doctor about the free market of medicine. Free market? Yeah, we like to consider healthcare a free market. He says, but it is a very weird market, and it is riddled with market failures like this. The consumer of the service, the patients, never see prices until after a service is performed. Isn't that true? Have you ever been told up front what a procedure will cost? Ever. And one of the reasons you haven't is nobody knows. Even the doctor doesn't know. And if you have a colonoscopy over there at AGH or somebody has a colonoscopy over at UPMC, the price differential can be thousands upon thousands of dollars. Nothing, if you look at it, makes the slightest bit of sense. Dr. Jeffrey Rice, chief executive of Healthcare Blue Book, which tracks commercial insurance payments, says this: people think it's like other purchases, that if you pay more, you get a better car. If you pay more, you get a better education. But in medicine, it's not like that at all. You pay more and you do not necessarily get the best. Well, I want to get into this maybe a little more tomorrow with Susan. I mean, again, colonoscopies. If you're in Austin, Texas, it'll cost you $7,471. If you're in Milwaukee, the same procedure will cost you $2,800 something. $7,000 in Texas, $2,000 in Milwaukee. In San Antonio, $5,600. In Houston, $4,700. In Dallas, there's nothing in Texas under $4,700. Where, if you go to Salt Lake City, it's $2,862. And nowhere in the world are you going to see this kind of pricing differential. It is insanity. Baltimore, $1,908. New York, $8,577 for the same procedure. That's without any government price regulation. That's smart, right? And Texas, man, Texas is just unbelievable. So all the colonoscopies in Texas cost like $4,000 or $5,000 more than they need to. And that's a lot of money because, as you know, there's a lot of assholes in Texas. All right, that's it for me. Somebody tell her to shut up.
Say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.